On a national sports channel's basketball discussion program, legendary coach Phil Jackson made an unexpected statement. LeBron James is an incredible player, but he never possessed Michael Jordan's mental approach, said Jackson, turning to the studio guests. The way Jordan carried his team, that invincible willpower, these are missing in LeBron. As the studio analysts looked at each other in astonishment, the program producer hurriedly whispered something into the host's earpiece. "Ladies and gentlemen," said the host, "LeBron James is watching us right now and wants to connect to our program." Cameras zoomed in on Phil Jackson's face. The 11-time championship coach's calm expression remained unchanged, while LeBron James appeared on screen, connecting from Los Angeles. Everyone wondered how he would respond to Jackson's claims. LeBron James appeared on screen, his expression surprising everyone in the studio. The superstar, normally calm and controlled in front of the media, looked different this time. "Phil, I want to show you and the basketball world something that nobody knows," said LeBron, with a slight tremor in his voice. "I've kept this to myself for years, but today," host Rachel Morgan's eyes widened. Phil Jackson leaned forward, watching with interest. Just then, the program producer rushed into the studio and whispered something in Rachel's ear. "There's another incredible development," said Rachel, unable to hide the excitement in her voice. "Michael Jordan also wants to connect to the program." This surprise announcement sent a shockwave through the studio. What was LeBron about to reveal? Why did Michael Jordan suddenly want to join the discussion? And what would Phil Jackson's role be in this unique confrontation? Who would be proven right in this unexpected face-off between basketball history's greatest names? Welcome to the Famous Stories channel. Whatever city you're watching from, please write it in the comments below. If you're curious about unknown and never-before-heard truths, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like our videos. The basketball discussion program on the national sports channel's morning slot was one that millions of basketball fans eagerly followed every day. That morning, the program began with a special guest, legendary coach Phil Jackson, winner of 11 NBA championships. Program host Rachel Morgan greeted viewers at the beginning of the broadcast. Today in our studio, we're hosting one of modern basketball's greatest minds, Phil Jackson. Phil, welcome. Phil Jackson, in his black suit and with his characteristic gray beard, settled into the chair in the center of the studio. His calm and confident demeanor made him look as if he were still coaching stars on basketball courts. "Thanks, Rachel. It's good to be here," said Jackson, with a measured smile. "Our other program guests are also legends," Rachel continued. "Former Bulls and Rockets player Kenny Smith, and of course an essential figure in the Lakers championships, Robert Horry." Kenny Smith and Robert Horry were sitting at a table on the other side of the studio. Both were former players who had the opportunity to work with Phil Jackson. "So Phil, today we want to discuss the greatest basketball players of all time with you," said Rachel. "And inevitably we'll be comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James." Jackson nodded slightly, clearly familiar with this discussion. "First, I want to ask you a direct question," said Rachel, leaning forward. "What's the biggest difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James? Which one do you think is the greater player?" Phil Jackson pondered for a moment, then responded, "Making this comparison is always difficult because they played in different eras. They faced different opponents, played in different systems, but if that's what you're asking, yes, there are differences." Kenny Smith interjected, "But Phil, you have to admit that LeBron is a better passer, right? A more versatile player." Jackson nodded. "Yes, LeBron is probably more physically gifted. A better passer, maybe a better rebounder." But Rachel immediately caught it. "But basketball isn't just about physical abilities," said Jackson, with slight emphasis in his voice. "Mental approach, competitiveness, that fire burning inside, these are just as important as physical talents." A silence fell over the studio. Everyone was eager to hear the insights from one of the people who knew these three basketball geniuses most closely. "LeBron James is an incredible player, but he never possessed Michael Jordan's mental approach," Jackson suddenly said, turning to the studio guests. "The way Jordan carried his team, that invincible willpower, these are missing in LeBron." This unexpected harsh statement immediately electrified the atmosphere in the studio. Rachel Morgan raised her eyebrows in surprise. "That's quite a harsh criticism, Phil. Isn't that excessive for a player who brought a championship to Cleveland, coming back from a 3-1 deficit?" Rachel asked. Jackson shrugged. "I'm just saying what I've seen. In my 20-year coaching career, I never saw the mental approach that Michael and Kobe had in anyone else. LeBron might technically be more talented, but he lacks in spirit and mental strength." Robert Horry, despite never having played with LeBron, chimed in. "Phil, you know that LeBron James has been a tremendous leader throughout his career. He's carried his teams to the finals multiple times. Isn't that a kind of mental strength? Jackson shook his head. I'm not questioning his leadership, but in pressure-filled decision-making moments, that relentless competitiveness I saw in Michael and Kobe, LeBron doesn't have that. He's more. Just then there was a commotion in the studio. The producer rushed in and whispered something in Rachel's ear. Rachel's facial expression suddenly changed, her eyes widening. Ladies and gentlemen, said Rachel, trying to contain the excitement in her voice, an incredible development. LeBron James is watching us right now and wants to connect to our program. Everyone in the studio looked at each other in astonishment. Even Phil Jackson briefly lost his calm demeanor, his eyebrows slightly raising. We're connecting LeBron James to our program, Rachel announced excitedly. LeBron, can you hear us? LeBron James appeared on screen. He had connected from a training facility in Los Angeles. The expression on his face was different from his typically confident, diplomatic demeanor in front of the media. There was genuine surprise and perhaps a bit of hurt. Yes, I can hear you, Rachel, said LeBron. Good morning, everyone. Rachel quickly got to the point. LeBron, it seems you heard Phil Jackson's comments about your mental approach and wanted to respond. What are your thoughts? Good day, Phil, said LeBron, looking directly at Jackson. Honestly, when I heard what you said this morning, I was a bit surprised. LeBron paused, trying to find the right words. This was unusual for the superstar, who was always verbally agile. You know, I've always had great respect for Michael and the Bulls teams you coached, LeBron continued, but your comments questioning my mental approach. Phil Jackson listened to LeBron with his characteristic calmness, occasionally acknowledging with small head movements. His facial expression showed that he stood firmly behind what he had said. When Rachel saw LeBron hesitate, she jumped in. LeBron, did Phil's comments really hurt you? Or have you become accustomed to these comparisons? LeBron took a deep breath, a slight discomfort appearing on his face. Look, I'm used to these comparisons. I've heard these kinds of comments throughout my career, but hearing it from someone like Phil, whom I respect in the basketball world, it feels different. When you question my mental approach, LeBron continued, looking directly at Phil, I'd like to understand what you mean, because for me, this is one of the most important aspects of basketball. Rachel, sensing the tension, pressed further. Phil, can you elaborate on what you mean by mental approach? Many would argue that LeBron's basketball IQ and leadership demonstrate incredible mental strength. Jackson leaned forward, clasping his hands together. It's about how you approach competition. Michael would do anything to win, anything. He had this killer instinct that was unmatched. He would find any weakness in his opponent and exploit it mercilessly. LeBron is more diplomatic. He wants to win, but he also wants to be liked. That's the fundamental difference. As the tension in the studio continued to rise, something unexpected happened. Scottie Pippen entered the studio through a side door, not as one of the program's planned guests but completely unexpectedly. Pippen had a determined expression on his face. This dramatic entrance surprised everyone in the studio. Rachel's eyes widened. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise guest in our studio. Scottie Pippen is with us. Scottie, did you specifically come to join this discussion? She asked, with a mixture of excitement and surprise in her voice. I thought I needed to intervene in this, said Pippen, looking directly at the camera. I played with Michael for years and won 6 championships under Phil's coaching. But I'm here today to clarify some facts. With this unexpected development, the atmosphere in the studio was electrified. Viewers were probably glued to their screens, wondering where this confrontation between the 3 basketball legends would lead. Pippen turned to LeBron. LeBron, Phil might be right. Michael's mental approach was truly unique. However, saying this, no one can deny that your own mental strength is equally impressive in a different way. Rachel immediately seized this opportunity. Scottie, you played with Michael and you also know LeBron well. What are the differences in the mental approaches of these 2 superstars? What do you think makes one superior to the other? Pippen thought for a moment before answering. Michael was relentless. He took everything personally. Every slight, every challenge. He'd use it as fuel. LeBron processes things differently. He's more calculated, more strategic. Both approaches can lead to greatness, just in different ways. I want to ask you something, Phil. Pippen continued, turning to his former coach. During your time working with Michael, was his relationship with teammates always perfect? A slight surprise appeared on Jackson's face. What do you mean, Scottie? You remember how Michael treated his teammates during practices, said Pippen. That intense competitiveness sometimes led to fistfights with Steve Kerr. He would occasionally belittle even us. Rachel immediately intervened, with a provocative sparkle in her eyes. This is very interesting, Scottie. So Michael Jordan's treatment of his teammates wasn't always positive, was it? Phil, what do you say to this? Was this part of the mental approach, or was it a flaw in Michael's character? Jackson shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable with the direction the conversation had taken. Michael pushed people to their limits, including himself. Yes, sometimes he crossed lines, but he brought out the best in his teammates by demanding excellence. While watching this discussion from the screen, LeBron's face showed complex emotions. He might have felt this moment could be an opportunity to defend himself, but he wasn't sure exactly how to approach it. Rachel turned directly to LeBron to deepen this dramatic moment. LeBron, have there been moments in your career when you struggled with mental toughness? Do you think there's any truth to Phil's comments, or is he completely wrong? I want you to be candid with us. LeBron took a deep breath. This was one of those rare moments when he was truly on the defensive. Honestly, he began, carefully choosing each word. There have been moments in my career journey when I struggled. My performance against Dallas in the 2011 finals was the biggest disappointment of my professional career. This sincere admission created a respectful silence in the studio. LeBron rarely acknowledged his weaknesses so openly in public, but to question my mental approach, LeBron tried to continue but paused as if he couldn't find the words. Rachel didn't miss the opportunity. LeBron, what did you feel in that situation? How did you get through those difficult moments? How did you improve yourself in terms of mental toughness? Because after that defeat you came back and won consecutive championships. LeBron nodded slowly. That failure against Dallas changed me. I had to look in the mirror and confront some hard truths. I disappeared in those finals, I know that. But what defines mental toughness isn't never failing, it's how you respond to failure. I came back stronger, more focused. I had to rebuild my approach to the game. Seeing this conversation unfold, Phil Jackson leaned forward slightly. LeBron, perhaps I was misunderstood. I'm saying that your and Michael's mental approaches are different. Michael's was more about individual excellence and ruthless competitiveness. Yours is more about collective success and team leadership. The tension in the studio seemed to have eased a bit, but the expression on LeBron's face still didn't look relieved. Just then, the studio producer whispered something new into Rachel's ear. Rachel's eyes widened, an incredible expression of surprise appearing on her face. "Ladies and gentlemen, there's another incredible development," said Rachel, unable to hide the excitement in her voice. "Michael Jordan himself is on the phone and wants to connect to the program. This is happening for the first time in history. Michael Jordan is suddenly connecting to a live discussion." This announcement electrified the studio. Even Phil Jackson's face showed surprise. LeBron James was watching expressionlessly from the screen, unsure of where the situation would evolve. Rachel turned to the viewers. "Can you believe it? Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen and LeBron James, all at once on the program. This is a first in basketball history. Those of you watching at home, you are witnessing a historic moment right now." A few seconds later, Michael Jordan's voice echoed in the studio. Without his image, just with an audio connection. "Hello everyone. I don't normally get involved in these kinds of discussions, but with Phil and Scottie there, and LeBron connected, I thought I should say a few things." There was complete silence in the studio. 4 generations of the basketball world, Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen and LeBron James, were in the same discussion at the same time. Rachel immediately intervened to get Jordan to talk more. "Michael, thank you for joining this discussion. How do you evaluate Phil's comments about LeBron's mental approach? Is there really a big difference between yours and LeBron's?" "Phil is right," said Jordan, with his characteristic confidence. "My mental approach was different, but LeBron is effective in his own way." Jordan paused for a moment, then continued. "LeBron, I want to tell you something. When you lost those finals against Dallas in 2011, many people were talking about you, including me." LeBron was listening carefully, trying to understand where Jordan was going with this. "But what did you do after that?" Jordan continued. "You came back and won 2 championships in a row. Then you returned to Cleveland and came back from a 3-1 deficit to win a championship against one of the best teams in history. If that's not mental toughness, what is?" A slight relief appeared on LeBron's face, but he still didn't look completely comfortable. "However," said Jordan, raising his voice a bit, "you didn't try to be like me. And you shouldn't. Every great player has their own mental approach, their own style." "But Phil," said Jordan, his voice becoming more serious, "when we talk about mental approach, you spoke as if you were implying LeBron was weaker. That's not true. Different, yes, but not weak." This small correction created a slight expression of surprise on Jackson's face. The Zen master wasn't used to being corrected by his former student. Rachel immediately drew attention to this situation. "Phil, you're being corrected by your own player. This is an interesting moment. What do you think about this?" Jackson smiled thoughtfully. "Michael always had his own mind. That's part of what made him great. Maybe I've been looking at this through too narrow a lens. LeBron finally spoke again, his voice now more determined. Michael, these words mean a lot to me. I've always had great respect for you, and tried to carry forward the legacy you left, but in my own way. LeBron paused, then decided to share something he had never revealed before. Actually, after my first season in Miami, after that finals defeat, I tried to talk to you. This revelation created a wave of surprise in the studio. Even Jordan seemed surprised. I never heard anything about this, LeBron, because I never got to speak with you directly, said LeBron, with a slight tone of disappointment. I sent a message through your team, but there was no response. I was mentally in my most difficult period at that time. I felt like the whole world was against me. Rachel turned to the viewers to emphasize this important confession. Did you hear that? LeBron James sought advice from Michael Jordan during the darkest period of his career, but this message never reached Michael. This is an unknown piece of basketball history. Jordan was silent for a moment. I had no idea about this, LeBron. That message never reached me. This sincere confession created an emotional moment in the studio. Phil Jackson looked thoughtful. Scottie Pippen was nodding, as if he had experienced such communication breakdowns before. Pippen intervened. Maybe there's a reason we're having this conversation today. 3 generations, 3 different perspectives. We all know how important the mental aspect of basketball is. Rachel, sensing the potential of this dramatic moment, immediately posed a question. Phil, now after listening to LeBron and Michael, what do you think is the biggest difference between the 2 players? And LeBron, what would you like to say to Michael now after this conversation? Phil Jackson responded thoughtfully. The biggest difference, I think, is in their approaches. Michael wanted to crush his opponents, to completely dominate them. LeBron is more strategic. Instead of dominating his opponents, he tries to control how the game flows. LeBron nodded. That's an accurate observation. I've always tried to control every aspect of the game. Not just scoring, but assisting, rebounding, defending. And here I need to make a confession, said Phil Jackson, unexpectedly. Perhaps LeBron's approach is more suitable for modern basketball than Michael's. Today's game is more positionless, more fluid. LeBron is exactly that kind of player. This was a major concession from Phil Jackson. A slight surprise appeared on LeBron's face. Rachel immediately highlighted this confession. Phil Jackson just said that LeBron's playing style might be more suitable for modern basketball than Michael Jordan's. This is an incredible admission. Michael, what do you say to this? Michael Jordan intervened. Phil, this was an admission that needed to come from you. I knew you never fully appreciated LeBron's playing style. That's a fair criticism, Michael, said Jackson with rarely seen humility. Perhaps my own basketball philosophy prevented me from fully evaluating versatile players like LeBron. This sincere admission created an atmosphere of respect in the studio. However, LeBron still didn't look completely relaxed. Something was bothering him. Phil, I want to ask you a question, said LeBron with a slight hesitation in his voice. Why did you never want to coach me when I was with the Lakers? Rachel's eyes widened. Wow, LeBron asked directly. This has been whispered about in basketball circles for years. Phil, why did you really not want to coach LeBron? This question had a bombshell effect in the studio. Phil Jackson's face froze for a moment. This was a topic rarely discussed in the public domain. Jackson took a deep breath. This is a complex issue, LeBron. At that time, I was considering coaching at the Lakers, yes. But, LeBron interjected, his voice now firmer. That's why your questioning of my mental approach today seems a bit ironic. Rachel added to increase the tension. Phil, is LeBron right? Did you turn down the Lakers because you didn't like his playing style? Or were there other factors? Phil Jackson paused for a moment in the face of this direct challenge. Everyone in the studio wondered how he would respond. You're right, LeBron, Jackson finally said. I didn't fully evaluate you. Perhaps my experience working with Michael and Kobe made me biased against players with different styles. This sincere admission softened the expression on LeBron's face. This was the most honest answer that could come from Phil Jackson. Thank you, Phil, said LeBron, for this honesty. But I also want to say that you're wrong about my mental approach. LeBron took a tablet from off-screen. I want to show you something. 2016 NBA Finals Game 7, fourth quarter. We're coming back from a 3-1 deficit against the Warriors. Rachel leaned forward excitedly. For our viewers, let me note that LeBron is about to show us footage we've never seen before. This is Game 7 of the 2016 Finals, the fourth quarter between the Cavaliers and Warriors. Footage from the fourth quarter of that game started playing on the tablet. Rachel began narrating. I see this is an angle not shown in the official broadcast. This seems to be an internal team camera. We can see LeBron gathering his team and talking, but there's no sound. We can't hear what he's saying." LeBron interjected. "These special images were never broadcast. This is the team's internal camera angle. Look, here I'm not during a normal timeout. I'm not next to the coach. I'm talking one-on-one with my teammates. I'm telling them what we'll do in the next 3 possessions." The camera was stationary, but the sound was very clear. While Tyronn Lue was explaining his strategy, I was separately talking to the players. In the footage, LeBron was gathering his teammates, making tactical adjustments that even the coach didn't see, pointing out the weaknesses of opposing players. Rachel asked excitedly, "LeBron, so you were actually like a coach on the court. Was this something Michael Jordan did too, Phil? Scottie?" "And here's something nobody knows," said LeBron, pausing the footage. "In that game, during the last 2 minutes, I had a small fracture in my wrist. I didn't tell anyone. I even hid the scan results from the team." This revelation created a shock effect in the studio. Even Scottie Pippen couldn't hide his surprise. Rachel asked with an incredible expression, "LeBron, you played with a fractured wrist in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals against the Golden State Warriors? And nobody knew this until now. This is amazing." "I was in pain, but I wouldn't leave the game," LeBron continued. "I would do anything to bring that championship to Cleveland." "That's mental approach, Phil." Jackson nodded, his gaze showing a mixture of surprise, respect, and perhaps some regret. Michael Jordan intervened. "LeBron, why did you keep this information secret until now?" "Because I didn't want it to seem like an excuse," said LeBron. "When we won, there was no need to look for excuses, and if we had lost, I wouldn't have wanted to use it as a justification." Rachel turned to the viewers. "Are you hearing this? LeBron James hid his injury in the most important game of his career. Whether he won or lost, he wasn't going to reveal it. What kind of mental strength is this?" Jordan was silent for a moment. This is beyond what even I could do." This admission surprised everyone. Michael Jordan rarely acknowledged that another player could do something superior to him. Rachel couldn't hide her surprise. Michael Jordan just said that what LeBron James did was something even he couldn't do. This is a historic moment. Scottie Pippen, feeling the weight of this moment, spoke. "Maybe we're all making too many comparisons. Michael and LeBron, 2 players from 2 different eras, both great in their own ways." Phil Jackson nodded affirmatively. "Scottie is right, and I learned an important lesson here today. Sometimes even the most experienced coaches can fall victim to their prejudices." Rachel intervened to sum up this profound moment. "This is truly a rare moment in basketball history. Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and LeBron James, 4 basketball legends in an open and honest dialogue. How do you think GOAT discussions will change after this?" LeBron finally said, "Phil, I've always respected your contributions to basketball. Michael and Scottie, you were my idols. We all made different contributions to basketball. Instead of making comparisons, we should celebrate these." There was an emotional atmosphere in the studio. Phil Jackson leaned toward LeBron. "LeBron, thank you for your openness. I think I need to reevaluate you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. What do you think about this topic? Please write in the comments below. See you in the next video.